Hello everyone, I'm Sandra Greenhalgh and I'm in Queensland. I'm currently on Jagera and Turrbal country. And to start off this episode of DDUDE, Druids Down Under Discuss Everything, I would like to pay my respects to the traditional custodians of this country and also pay my respect to elders, past, present, and emerging. So thank you very much everyone who's joined me tonight, and hopefully I'll see some of you pop in very soon. I must admit I am a little bit scared doing this. This is actually the first time I've ever done this before, so I do hope it all goes okay. So Druids Down Under Discuss Everything has been on a bit of a break over the December, January time. And before I talk about my topic, I'd also like to acknowledge the devastating fires and the, I don't know, it's sort of unimaginably horrendous impact that's had on our tree life and our animals and our people and their abodes. And also I think I echo the views of so many Australians when I say I think our firefighters are just amazing. So yeah, it's just been such an intense time, and I really feel for the people that have gone through this and that are still experiencing hardship and difficulty. So, discussing everything. Tonight I'm going to be discussing a book that's going to be coming out this year called A History of Druidry in Australia, and that's pretty exciting. So first I'll have a little bit of a backstory about me. So who I am a very long-term member of the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. I joined when I was actually over in England in the late 1980s, so a long time ago. I helped facilitate the Macadamia Grove up in Queensland, which is a very vibrant group of amazing, wonderful people that I'm very fortunate to be involved with. And also a little bit more about me. I've published a book under a different name, and last year I created the Druid Wisdom Oracle cards, which I'm very proud of. And I shouldn't really plug, but I am. They're available on Etsy if you'd like a copy. I think they're pretty cool. But yeah, so that's sort of a little bit about where I come from. So how did we get to here? Well, there is a big backstory to me sitting here today talking about a history of Druidry in Australia. So how this came about was back in about 2017, Elkie White, who I'm sure many of the Druid folk of Australia are very familiar with, had the idea about doing a project about the history of Druidry. And there were other people at the time who were very curious about what is the history of Druidry, the spiritual Druidry, the fraternal lodge Druidry. How do we put this stuff down so it's accessible, and how do, you know, the people that have been involved in Druidry in Australia a long time, how do we record what's happened and the experiences, which, you know, we have a verbal tradition. We sit around a fire and we chat about it, but, you know, like, we're not all going to be there forever, and some people come into the community and go out of the community. So how do we, you know, capture that, and how do we, you know, articulate what it means to be a Druid in Australia today? So Elkie designed a questionnaire with the history project with the help of a university lecturer, and she promoted that really widely at different Druidry events. And I just want to say hello to all the people. I've got little comments that it's so exciting, so cool. Yeah, so sorry, there goes a rabbit. So she designed a questionnaire and she promoted it at different Druidic events. She promoted it through SerpentStar, and she had some really great responses through there. And we were sitting around at DDUDE, Druids Down Under National Gathering in 2018, and I said, Dougie, what's going to happen with all these questionnaires? What are you going to do with them? And she goes, oh, you know, yeah, they're good, and we'll, you know, do something with them. We've got a few options. And I said, well, how about I make them into a book? Because I just published my a different book, and I was feeling really inspired on the back of that. And she went, oh, yes, that would be great. So simple conversation led to great things. So Elke continued to work with the questionnaire and the history project, and formally sort of handed over the sacred USB stick to me in January this year at the New Zealand Assembly. Now, when you're nearly at the end of a really huge project, you actually look back and you go, wow, that really wasn't what I was expecting to do. It was a lot more than I ever anticipated would be involved, and it was a lot more than I ever thought I would. And I suppose the question is, you know, people say, if you knew what was involved, would you have actually done this thing? And I can happily sit here and go, I still would have done the thing, knowing how much time and effort and sometimes brain pain I experienced, and I know Elke did as well, because this is something that's really important. It's personally important, and it's important to all the contributors as well. So going back, so what happened then is I inherited from Elke roughly about 20 completed questionnaires and a few snippets of information here, there and everywhere. And so I set about putting them together. And there were some gaps, okay? And that's fine, because, you know, gaps are there, they're spaces of opportunity. So it's like I couldn't just put those questionnaires into a book as they were. There was like things that the questions that were unanswered, and actually taking everyone's knowledge and putting it into, you know, a story, I just didn't think I could do that. There was all this other knowledge that needed to be added in. So what the next step I did then, and with Elke's blessing and support and you know, guidance from the side, is focused on getting the gaps filled. So one of the really big aspects was a timeline, and that was really challenging. And when I talk about this, a timeline of the spirituality Druid groups rather than the fraternal lodges. And while we had some information, we still had bits and pieces that were a bit challenging. And one of the funny things that I discovered is, we know Australia is a really big place, but there is still this gap between East Coast and West Coast, and sometimes that was difficult to fill in some of those gaps, but thanks to all the people who helped me and corrected me and went, no, that's not right, this is when this happened, this is this date, and that was really amazing. So a timeline was a really great thing to have. The other area of focus was about groups, about current and previous Druid groups or groves or seed groups, because even though most Australian currently practicing Druidry people are associated with the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids, it certainly isn't the only group. So, you know, we have ADF and we have BDO, and we have people practicing everything, and we have people practicing different sort of Druidic spiritualities as well. But what one of my big focuses is garnering and gathering information about the different groups. Hi, everyone. Because groups have their own dynamics. They influence a lot of people in different ways. So I thought that was fairly significant. And some of the new groups, they were a bit surprised when I contacted them and said, hey, you know, I want some information about you, please, for the history, you know, Druid history, you know, in Australia book. And they went, but we've only been going a few months. And it was like, yeah, I know that, but you're functioning now. Okay, people hopefully will be reading this book in like 5, 10, maybe 20 years time, and they're going, wow, what about that group? And it's going to be history. It's history in the making. It's actually history happening now. So that's pretty cool. The other areas that, you know, we made sure we included was information about SerpentStar, which was pretty significant because that's such a landscape-changing publication that was started back after the first assembly back in, and I do wish I had my dates. Numbers are not my thing. If you know me, you know numbers are not my thing. So back in 1987, yeah, so that was the first publication. It was a communication tool that initially was, you know, typed up on a computer and posted out. And it's still going today, but now we've got the joys of digital technology, and we have the wonderful editor, Mandy. Hey, you do an amazing job. And that's another way. It's very connective to people studying a Druid spirituality across Australia. And we have this great publication. Another area we looked at was assemblies. Excuse me while I have a drink. I'm not used to talking so much. And hello, Carol, who's just popped up. She was the first editor of SerpentStar. Hi, and Mandy, who's amazing with facts and keeps us all in line. It says 1997. Thank you. Assemblies. The OVAD Assembly started in 1987, and it was really important to capture some information about these events, because these events were really important, because this is the first time often people studying a Druid spirituality actually met each other face to face. Okay, so they're life-changing events, you know, and they're a huge part of our landscape in Australia. So I wanted to make sure there's information about the assemblies in there as well. So there's a lot of information, you know, through the questionnaires and through personal experiences. There's some pretty significant articles that I think are really important. We have one really important one that appears at the front of the publication that's by Kate, and she writes as an Aboriginal woman and a person who's studying Druidry, and I think that's really important to have a person such as Kate having a voice and being front and centre, you know, because it's about Druidry in Australia, and it's important to acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. So we're very grateful to have Kate write for us. We also have a really really significant article by a couple of Druid people, Acadia and Zan, who organised the first assembly and the second assembly, and very much part of, you know, our history. So they have kindly written a really great article, you know, Druidry from the early days, you know, as they were involved in it, as well as a little bit of you know, not just Druidry here, but, you know, a bit of an extension out. So there's many other familiar names that are in the book that are very active community members as well. So it's just so wonderful to have those people that have contributed. So there's over 30 contributors, and that's really wonderful. The other really cool thing about this book is we have had the 3 leaders of the current biggest, most significant Druid groups contributing a foreword each. So Philip Kagom from the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids, Jean Drum from a Druid Fellowship, and Philip Greywolf from the British Druid Order have very kindly contributed a foreword as well. And that's really, you know, that's wonderful. So what has happened now, and I just can't believe it, I've only got a few minutes to go. It's just the time has just flown past so quickly. So what I just wanted to, before I get to the end and go off on, there's lots of other things I'm just so keen to talk about, is that yesterday we launched a Kickstarter campaign for a history of Druidry in Australia. So it would be really great if you could support that campaign, which is you go into Kickstarter and you Google a history of Druidry in Australia. Oh, look, here's one of our, whoops, let me get this in, history of Druidry in Australia. Okay, so if you go into Kickstarter, that's the best way to grab yourself a copy, except for a very small sort of launch at the Assembly in 2020. This will be the quickest way that people can get themselves a copy through Kickstarter. And that Kickstarter, it's a crowdfunding thing, but what happens if you pay your pledge and you actually get a book? So it's not like, oh, I'm giving you money, you know, for the fun of it. You do get a book. And what's really important about this is that the Kickstarter will help cover the printing costs and the publication costs. And also, once we cover all those costs, the profits from the sales of this book will be used to support our Australian Druid community. Okay, so Elkie and I, we're not sailing away on a cruise, you know, on the profits. You know, this is stuff that's coming back into the community because we are such, you know, fierce advocates, you know, of the community and supporting people. So that's why, you know, we've had such a wonderful response from contributors. I think because this is what it's about. This is, you know, people doing things for the love of it and the creativity of it, you know, to have a positive flow and effect. Now, one thing I'll go back to, anyway, support the Kickstarter, please. So I'll just go back to another really important part of what's included in the book is Elkie has done a synopsis of the history of fraternal Druid lodges in Australia. And that's pretty amazing. She's gone to the library, she's done all this work, she's looked at different states, because a lot of people, not a lot of people, some people go, hey, my grandfather was a Druid, or I was descended by Druids, you know. So what about the fraternal, you know, the Friendly Society Druids? So there is a history about that in the book as well. And there's some pretty cool black and white photos as well that are some, you know, some archival photos that I'm sure will be of interest to people. So let me see. All right, so a little thank you here while I'm here. Thank you to Danuta, Trudy, Linda, and of course Elkie for reviewing. You know, they've been really great at providing editorial support. So thank you. Thank you for Mandy for supporting on SerpentStar. Let me see, what else do I need to do? Oh, yeah, the cost, sorry, the cost, it'll be $30. We thought that was a magical sort of number and, you know, relatively affordable in the scheme of books. It will be 250-ish pages. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff that'll be tucked away in that. But the most important thing is that this book is the first book to actually represent our shared history from the past into the future, and that's pretty big, and I'm really proud and grateful to be part of that. And I think this is something, you know, it's a heritage thing. You know, this is something that we can all, you know, embrace, and it shows how far we come and where we are. And you know, hopefully we might do another one of these in the future, you know, and see where we've gone in another 10 years. So I'm just looking at the time. I don't know if there's any significant questions that people have asked me. I'm just going to see if I can scroll up. I hope that doesn't do anything terrible. But thanks everyone who's joined. And now I have to leave. It's 20 minutes has gone. It's just a flash. So thank you, everyone. Any questions, please type them in the comments. I think that the video is available on the SerpentStar YouTube channel afterwards. And I think Julie does something magical to link it back into Druids Down Under. So thanks a lot, everyone, and all the best. Bye-bye.